Hi everyone, today we're going to be looking at how we calculate the midpoint. So here we have a little Cartesian plane and I've got 2 points. And when I'm asked to find the midpoint, that means I want to find the point that is perfectly in the center of these 2 points. So I'm going to find, perfectly in the center. That's why it's called the midpoint, because it's the middle. So in order to calculate the midpoint, I need to be able to use this formula. Okay. So the formula is midpoint equals, in brackets, x1 plus x2 over 2, comma, y1 plus y2 over 2, close bracket. All right, now don't get freaked out by how weird this looks. Yes, it does look weird. There's a lot of random x's and y's in there, but don't panic because I'll show you what they mean. So here I've got 2 points. Okay, I've got 1 and I've got 2. And when we read Cartesian planes, we read from left to right like we're reading a book. So this is our first point here, and then this one over here is our second point because I'm reading from left to right. So the first thing I need to do, before I can start putting anything into my formula, I need to label what these points are. I need to figure out what the coordinates are of these points. So we always read x first, and I want my coordinates in brackets with a comma in between. Okay, so x comes before y, and I'm just going to write that above there. So I need to go across first to find the x. So my x is -2, so -2, and then I'm going to go down to y. So it's down here, so that looks like it's -3. So my x is -2 and my y is -3. Cool. Let's label this one up here. So I need brackets with a comma in the middle because that's how we write coordinates. So this one up here is I've got to go across to x, so it's 2. I'm just going to write x and y above. So 2, and then my y value, I'm going to go up to 4. There we go. Okay, so the first thing I've done is I've labeled my points. Perfect. Now, I've got x and y down here, and I've got an x and y up here, but I need to figure out which one's which, because I can't, like, they're just x and they're just y, and I need to figure out which one's x1 and which one's x2. And the way I do that is, again, reading my points from left to right. I'm going to number them. This is my point 1, so next to the x and y, I'm going to put a little 1 to say that's my first point. And then I'm going to go up to the second point up here, the second spot, and I'm going to call that point 2. So I'm going to put a little 2 next to the x and the y. So all that little 1 means is that that's my first point, and the little 2 just means it's my second point. Now I have enough information to be able to put it into my horrible looking formula. But don't worry, it gets less horrible as we go. So I've got my formula, and then I'm going to rewrite my formula, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the x1 blank and the x2 blank, and I'm going to leave the y1 blank and the y2 blank, because really it's just filling in the blanks. So I've got midpoint is equal to, I've got a bracket, something plus something over 2, comma, line, something plus something over 2, close bracket. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to put these numbers into my formula. So I've basically written like a, I guess like a shell of the formula, just leaving these things blank, and I'm going to put them in there. And I might do it in a different color so that you can see where I'm putting them. Okay, cool. So my formula asks for x1. Now I know which point is x1, because I labelled them over here. So x1 is -2, and then it asks for x2, which I also know, that is 2. Okay, and then I'm going to move across to the y, so it's asking me for y1, which is -3, and then it's asking me for y2, which is 4. Cool. Now, it still looks a bit yuck, I'm not going to lie, but we can simplify this and make it much nicer. Now, I could, if I had a calculator with me, I could type this part into a calculator and find out what it is, and then I can type this part into a calculator and find out what it is. Happy days, however, I'm going to show you how to do it without a calculator. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite the shell, I suppose, like I did before. So I've got a bracket, comma in the middle, and it's something over 2 and something over 2. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add what's happening on top. So I've got -2 plus 2, I'm going to put it in a different color so that you can see. So first I'm adding up what's on the top. So minus 2 plus 2 gives me 0. And then I've got minus 3 plus 4 gives me 1. Okay, cool. So now I can do this division, but I'm going to do it on another line. So again, oops, I'm going to rewrite my shell. But this time I only need a bracket, comma, and a bracket. So how many 2's go into 0? I get 0. And then how many 2's go into 1? I get 0.5. There we go, and that's it. We've just found our midpoint. And the reason why it's in brackets with a comma in between is because this is actually a point. This is a coordinate that I can plot on my picture, and I'm actually going to do that. So my x value, because x comes before y, my x value is 0, so I'm going to go across to 0, which is here, and then I'm going to go up to 0.5, so that's halfway between 0 and 1, so it's there. So the midpoint between these 2 points is right there. Awesome. So that's why we've got brackets with a comma in the middle, because what you're trying to calculate is halfway between the x value and then halfway between the y value. There we go, and that's how we calculate midpoint. Thanks for watching.